There is a version of the United States federal budget that Congress never fully sees. And right now, you are the person who decides where those hundreds of billions quietly disappear. Not a soldier, not a spy, not a politician with a committee seat and a security detail. A program manager, a bureaucrat, a government employee with a GS-15 pay grade, a laminated badge, and a number where your name should be. And today is your first day inside the most expensive secret in the world. Level 1. The Indoctrination. The corridor has no signage, no room numbers, no department names, no arrows pointing anywhere. Just walls and a man you've never met walking ahead of you. He didn't introduce himself at the checkpoint. He said, "Follow me," and you followed. He stops at a door, opens it. Inside, a table, 2 chairs, a single document lying face down. He turns it over and slides it toward you without speaking. You read. It takes about 4 minutes. The language is precise and dense and written by someone who understands exactly what they're asking you to accept. You are being formally read into a special access program, a SAP, a classification tier that sits above top secret, above SCI, above anything the public has a name for. There are 3 categories of SAPs. Acknowledged SAPs. Their existence can be confirmed, but the details cannot. Unacknowledged SAPs. Even the existence is denied. And waived SAPs. Waived programs are reported only to 8 congressional leaders, with minimal detail, and often verbally. Title 10 of the U.S. Code, Section 119, governs this. You haven't read that statute yet. You will. The document asks you to understand that confirming the existence of this program to anyone without authorization is a federal crime, not a policy violation, a crime. You sign. He removes the document from the room immediately, not into a folder, not into a filing cabinet nearby, out of the room, out of your sight, as if it was never on the table. You are now read in. The most classified programs in American history don't start with a gunshot. They start with a signature. Level 2, the architecture. They give you a binder, beige cover, black spine, no title on the outside. Inside, a flowchart. You've seen flowcharts before. This one is different. Money starts at the Office of the Secretary of Defense, moves to the Undersecretary for Acquisition and Sustainment, moves down to your program office, then to a defense contractor, then to a facility whose listed address on the actual contract document is a post office box in a suburb of Palmdale, California. You pull up the public defense budget later. Anyone can find this document. It lives on a government website, downloadable in full. You search for your program. It isn't there. Not redacted, not vague. It simply doesn't appear as a thing. Its funding lives inside line items so deliberately generic they disappear into the noise. 0.0603884C. Classified adjustments. Miscellaneous research requirements. Billions of dollars described in 4 words. The system is engineered so that no single person sees the entire picture. Your colleagues know their functional area. You know yours. The contractor's engineers know theirs. Nobody in this building knows everything. That structure is not an oversight. It is the design. Compartmentalization is the security mechanism. The separation of knowledge is the protection. Before you leave for the day, one rule is stated once. Never write the program's real name in an email. Ever. Under any circumstances. For any reason. You're told once. You won't need to be told again. The most powerful budget office in the world looks exactly like a mid-level accounting department. Level 3, your first program. Your program has a code name. 2 words, unrelated to each other, unrelated to anything the program does or builds or tests or deploys. That's the point. Black programs have been named this way for decades. Have Blue was the prototype for the F-117 stealth fighter, developed between 1975 and 1977 at Lockheed's Advanced Development Division in Burbank, California, the facility the industry calls the Skunk Works. Senior Trend was the F-117 production program. Tacit Blue was a separate stealth demonstrator that flew over 135 test missions and remained classified for years after eclosy. Corona was the United States' first reconnaissance satellite program that flew its first mission in 1959 and stayed classified until 1995. The F-117 flew operational combat missions for 7 years before the Pentagon publicly acknowledged the aircraft's existence in 1988. 7 years, real sorties, real airspace, real targets. Officially, it did not exist. You think about that for a moment while reviewing your first quarterly report. Your job is budget reconciliation. Funds in, funds out. You verify that money moves from the appropriation to the contractor on schedule. You flag discrepancies. You prepare reports that travel upward through a chain you cannot fully see past your own rung. You don't ask what the program is building. You don't have the clearance for the technical layer. Your access covers the financial layer. What the money turns into on the other side of the contractor's fence is a different compartment entirely. You manage the budget for something you are not allowed to understand. At first, this bothers you. Then it doesn't. Then you stop noticing that it doesn't. Your job is to make sure the money arrives. What happens after that is somebody else's clearance level. Level 4, the contractor visit. You fly to a facility you cannot name in your travel report. The address in your approved paperwork reads Site B. You land, rent a car, and drive 40 minutes on a road that doesn't appear on consumer mapping software. From outside, the facility looks unremarkable. Chain link perimeter, a cluster of mid-sized industrial buildings, no logos, no signage, a guard station at a single entrance point. You surrender your phone, your laptop, your smartwatch. Everything is locked in a box at the guard station. The box stays outside. You are given a visitor badge, a color code, and a number. No name. Inside is a SCIF, a sensitive compartmented information facility. The walls are engineered to prevent electromagnetic emissions from entering or leaving the space. The air is soundproofed. The air is slightly pressurized and tastes recycled. No signal comes in or goes out. What happens in this room stays in this room by physics and by law. Engineers walk you through a progress update using a physical model. You look at the model. You sign a form confirming that you saw it. You are not permitted to take notes. You ask one question about a budget timeline, and you are informed that the answer to that question falls outside your access. You nod. You accept this. On the flight home, your spouse texts asking where you've been. You have a cover story. It's technically true, the cover story. It doesn't describe anything that actually happened, but it doesn't contradict any verifiable facts. You've been told this is not lying. You've been told it's appropriate information management. You tell the cover story. You land. You go home. You just watch something that doesn't exist get built by people whose names aren't in any org chart you've ever seen. Level 4, the Congressional Brief. You spend 3 weeks building the briefing package. 47 pages, every dollar tracked, every milestone documented, every risk rated and color-coded. It is the most thorough work product you've ever produced. The morning it's finalized, your supervisor calls you into his office. He places the package on his desk and slides it back toward you, then places a separate document beside it. 2 pages. The 47 pages have been summarized, restructured, and significantly reduced. The 2-page version contains the program's code name, a general status category, and a budget figure rounded to the nearest $100 million. Milestones are absent. Risks are absent. Technical progress is absent. This is what leaves the building. The briefing takes place inside a SCIF on Capitol Hill. You are present as note-taker. Your supervisor leads. A congressional staffer sits across a table. A senator joins midway. He asks 3 questions. 2 receive answers. For the third, your supervisor uses a phrase you have already memorized from your own training. That information is not available at this classification level. The senator nods. He moves on to the next item. You watch his face. He appears satisfied, or at least not dissatisfied, which is a different thing. He doesn't know the shape of what he doesn't know. That is the key dynamic inside a system built this way. You can't ask for the missing information if you don't know it's missing. Title 10, Section 119 requires congressional notification for special access programs. It does not specify how much must be disclosed. For the most sensitive waived programs, notification reaches only 8 people. 4 congressional leaders, 2 intelligence committee chairs, 2 ranking members, and even then the notification is often verbal. No documents distributed, no materials retained. You just briefed a United States senator and told him less than what's in the newspaper. Level 6. The Runaway. Your program is 40% over its classified budget projection. No public document reflects this. No oversight body outside a small cleared circle has any visibility into it. There is no press coverage, no inspector general inquiry, no congressional hearing. There's a memo on your desk from your supervisor and a transfer authorization attached to it. You are being directed to reallocate funds from a separate program, one you have no visibility into, no clearance for, no knowledge of beyond the code name in the transfer document, to cover the gap your program has created. You consider asking what the other program is. You consider asking what happens to it after its funding is reduced. You consider following the thread of what you're about to do. You sign the authorization. 3 weeks later, a colleague mentions the other program has been restructured. That word, restructured. You don't ask which program. You don't ask what restructured means in this context. You let it go the way you've learned to let things go inside this building. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber began as a black program in the late 1970s. When it entered public awareness, the unit cost had reached approximately $2 billion per aircraft, the most expensive production combat aircraft ever built. Part of that cost came from classified design changes made throughout development that could not be challenged through standard procurement channels. No competitive bidding, no external audit, no mechanism for outside correction. Problems compounded in silence because silence was the only environment the program had ever existed in. That's not corruption, that's structure. That's what happens when the only people who can correct a problem inside the black budget are the same people responsible for managing it. You just moved $800 million and you have no idea what you just canceled. Level 7. The Discovery. It starts with a spreadsheet, routine work, historical budget reconciliation. You are cross-referencing transfer records across 3 fiscal years when you see a code name you've never encountered. 2 words. You search your memory for it. Nothing. You check the program registry you have access to. No record. You check a secondary archive your clearance covers. Nothing. You run the code name through 2 more internal databases. Nothing, nothing, nothing. It appears 3 times across 3 separate fiscal years. The dollar amounts are not small. You sit with this for a while, maybe 20 minutes. Then you mention it to your supervisor. He goes quiet. Not the quiet of confusion, not the quiet of someone engaging with a new problem. A different kind of quiet. The kind that means the person already knows the answer and wishes you hadn't made them aware you'd found the question. He tells you he'll look into it. 2 days later, you attempt to log into the budget archive where you found the codename. Your access has been administratively revoked. No explanation attached, no meeting scheduled, no written notice. It simply doesn't exist when you log in. You continue your work. Nothing else is said. In 2017, the New York Times reported on ATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, a classified Pentagon initiative studying unidentified aerial phenomena, funded at $22 million annually, buried inside the Defense Intelligence Agency's budget for years. Almost nobody outside the program knew it existed until a journalist found the seam. The question isn't what ATIP was. The question is what's sitting right now where ATIP is sitting in 2010. What codename is living in a spreadsheet somewhere that no reporter has reached yet? What 2 unrelated words represent something the public doesn't have a category for? You think you might have seen one. You don't say that to anyone. The most classified thing you've ever seen wasn't in a briefing. It was in a spreadsheet that nobody was supposed to leave on the shared drive. Level 8. The Loop. It's a Tuesday afternoon in late autumn. The light through the window is flat and white and going nowhere. You are at your desk, tracking numbers that officially don't exist, for programs that officially don't exist, inside a budget layer the public doesn't officially know about. This is your day. This has been your day for 12 years. Through the glass wall of your office, you watch them walk someone new down the corridor. Young, late 20s maybe. She's dressed the way people dress when they want to look more serious than they feel. She's carrying a folder. She's being walked toward the corridor with no signage. She looks a little nervous, a little proud, steady underneath both. You know exactly where they're taking her. You know the room. You know the document that's going to be placed face down in front of her and then turned over and then taken away the moment she's done signing it. You know the phrase she's going to learn within her first year because you said it yourself 3 months ago to a senator on Capitol Hill and didn't feel anything when you said it. That information is not available at this classification level. Nobody told you on day one what this work actually costs, not in dollars, in something else, in the slow accumulation of things you carry that have nowhere to go, the decisions that compound, the programs you know exist, the code name you were never supposed to find, the 800 million you moved and couldn't trace, the senator you briefed with 2 pages of a 47-page document and watched nod and move on. These things don't leave when you leave the building. They don't expire with the clearance. The NDAs you've signed are lifelong documents. What you know at level 8, you carry past level 8, past retirement, past transition, past whatever version of a normal life you build around the edges of this one. And the thing that unsettles you most, the thing you have never said to anyone, not your spouse, not your oldest colleague, not even yourself in a moment that felt honest, is that you are not troubled by it. You are not broken by it. You are not angry or trapped or quietly screaming. You are fine. And that is the most classified thing of all. Because the system didn't trap you. It selected you. It found someone patient, discreet, comfortable with ambiguity, willing to manage something they don't fully understand because the work is real and the mission matters and somebody has to do it. And that person turned out to be you. And it turns out you are very, very good at this. There's no villain in this story. That's what the documentaries always miss. There's no shadowy figure at the top of the pyramid pulling levers for personal gain. There's a structure that runs on signatures and compartments and budget transfers in silence that finds people like you and reads them in and never quite reads them out. The new hire disappears around the corner. You turn back to your screen. There is a version of the United States federal budget that Congress never fully sees. And right now, 12 years, 47 redacted briefings, 3 budget transfers you'll never be able to explain, and 1 code name you were never supposed to find later, you are still the person who decides where those billions quietly disappear. You just stopped wondering where they go.